It seems to me that the writers were aware of what this movie could mean for the franchise, considering this line from Sarah in the trailer.
If we don't win this one, it's all over.
Terminator Dark Fate is helmed by Deadpool director Tim Miller and marks the return of James Cameron as producer after he had no involvement in the last 3 movies, as well as the return of actress Linda Hamilton. Dark Fate is here to wipe the slate clean on the Terminator franchise and place itself as the official direct sequel to T2 Judgment Day. Over 20 years after Sarah Connor changed the future, she is spending her days hunting down any more Terminators that appear in the present. She meets up with Grace, a half-human, half-cyborg soldier from the future played by Mackenzie Davis. Grace has been sent to protect a woman named Dani, played by Natalia Rice, who is a vital figure to humanity's prosperity. While on the run from this upgraded liquid metal Terminator called the Rev-9, the trio are joined by another version of the T-800 named Carl, played once again by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is still one of my all-time favorite movies, and most everyone seems to agree that it is one of the greatest action films ever made. Most Terminator fans seem to have split opinions on the following movies, and personally, I still have some positive feelings toward Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, and even Terminator Genisys. In fact, there were 2 things that I kind of hated to miss about not getting a follow-up to Genisys, one being that we won't be able to see Arnold in action as a T-1000, which he became at the end of that movie, and 2, no more J.K. Simmons. God, those time-traveling robots covering up their damn tracks. Nevertheless, seeing the return of some of the old cast and crew, James Cameron, Linda Hamilton, and of course Arnold, gave me the feeling that they were extremely serious about making the real Terminator 3. Furthermore, the marketing steered away from showing too much. Judgment Day, Salvation, and Genisys all gave away their big reveal in the trailers. In the case of Dark Fate, few plot points were detailed, and we didn't even see where John Connor is and what he's up to. I was ready for this movie, eager to be able to see it as the definitive follow-up to Judgment Day. And... oh, conflicting thoughts. I'll start with the good stuff. The film has an outstanding cast. Having lost 60 pounds to get back in shape for the role of Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton acts like nobody's business here. She has such a savage presence, it's kind of spine-tingling. And Mackenzie Davis kicks multitudes of butt. Having had mostly small roles in movies like The Martian and Blade Runner 2049 before now, I can easily see her as a rising action star. And Gabriel Luna is very intimidating as the Rev-9, a villain that I would stretch out my neck and say is even more menacing than the T-1000. Although I gotta say, the shape-shifting liquid metal effects look about as good as they did in T2. And while the effects in T2 do still hold up for the most part, for Dark Fate 28 years later, you'd expect them to be state-of-the-art. The action sequences are fantastic, very Terminator-worthy. We get a hefty quantity of set pieces involving automobiles and aircraft, but it's most exciting when it goes hand-to-hand. Like an early confrontation when Grace goes at the Rev-9 with a gun and a sledgehammer, and a totally awesome final 4-on-1 showdown. In regards to the early negativity toward this movie on account of speculation that it would have some woke agenda, I honestly just didn't get it. I had seen some amusing jokes like LGBT 1000 or in Judgment Day it was liquid metal, here it's gender fluid. Okay, funny, but needs more context than just Mackenzie Davis having an ear-length haircut. I really wasn't getting any SJW vibes from the trailers. I saw it as just a movie that has a predominantly female cast, and really, what's wrong with that? Having seen it now, I can tell you that this is not another 2016 Ghostbusters. There isn't a climax where all the women defeat a giant robot by shooting it in the metallic groin or anything like that. The only thing in the trailers I was skeptical about was Sarah uttering the signature line, "I'll be back," instead of Arnold. But it makes some sense when you see the movie, as Sarah is ruthlessly hunting down Terminators, I guess wanting to put herself above them, if you will, and I think they're trying to show that by having her say the Terminator's line. I was able to accept that, but then they had to go one step too far and change up the other series' catchphrase for whatever reason. Instead of come with me if you want to live, it's come with me or you're dead in the next 30 seconds. What a pointless change. And while Arnold's presence is always welcome in these movies, as long as it's actually him and not a CGI rendering of him, he has an unsubstantial role in Dark Fate, showing up halfway into the movie at earliest. It's a shame because he is very funny, and there's an interesting character setup for this version of the T-800. He's overcome his programming, and he's spent the last 25 years living a life as a real human. But it's explored so minimally that it ultimately just serves as an explanation for Arnold's age, and an excuse to include him in the movie. When I learned about his backstory from a character featurette, I thought that from that, and how Grace is half human, half Terminator, that the movie would have this storytelling element regarding like a gray area between man and machine, but there's nothing of the sort. The theme of the movie, and the meaning behind the title Dark Fate, hinges on an absolutely terrible decision that the movie makes in its opening moments. I'll save the details for a spoiler review, but I tell you, I got amped to the max when this movie opens with a flashback scene to 1998 that uses remarkable de-aging effects, on par with Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel. And then suddenly, that terrible decision happens, and throughout most of the movie I kept thinking, there's a catch, right? There never was. Now, while I liked aspects of Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, one in particular being the film's practically poetic conclusion, it still made the Terminator sacrifice at the end of T2 seem kind of hollow, considering that Skynet happens anyway. This was one of the reasons that I was really looking forward to seeing Dark Fate as the alternative. But it's pretty much the same deal when you find out what's going to happen in the near future. When you see it, you think, the Terminator was best off staying with Sarah and John at the end of Judgment Day. So the fact that this movie repeats some mistakes like that from previous sequels is very disappointing, and keeps this movie from being what it should have been. With Linda Hamilton completely owning the role, and action scenes that are not just fun, but incredibly frenetic and intense, this movie has the grittiness needed to help cement itself as the official Terminator 3, which is why it really sucks that at the end of the day, I just wound up feeling about the same way about it as I did most of the other sequels. I'm going to give Terminator Dark Fate a mildly positive score of 63%, but I do so grudgingly. That's a wrap, thank you for watching, I hope you found this review helpful, and I hope you'll stick around for my spoiler review of the movie. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture, I'm Alex Pop.